Hey everyone, one of the things that we've been monitoring very closely is the technology sector as far as momentum and particularly sentiment has gone over the past couple of months. And so the technology sector of the S&P 500, the XLK ETF that you can see on your screen here is one that had a lot of strong momentum to the upside. If you look at it like this, you can see our momentum indicator told us there's fresh momentum coming into that technology part in early May, and then that worked really well for another 15-18%. But now we are starting to see, and we did receive a very clear sell signal on the 19th of July, so a number of weeks ago at this point, a couple of weeks ago at this point, which is clearly telling us that momentum is shifting. And of course, if we look at the technology sector in relative terms, we can take, for example, the XLK and to divide it by the S&P 500, the SPY. You can see that momentum or that relative strength really turning now into relative weakness. This is that important inflection point that I've mentioned before, where we basically reached on this ratio chart the point of relative strength, the maximum point of relative strength that the technology sector had been at relative to the S&P 500, the most relative strength a few weeks ago since the year 2000, when, of course, we had the peak of the dot-com bubble, as we called it at the time. But again, if we zoom in a bit closer, we can see that relative strength turning into relative weakness. And, if you want to be fancy here and draw some sort of conclusion based on technicals, you can see we're kind of breaking support here in the relative chart. But again, more importantly, or more to the point of this discussion here is that momentum in absolute terms is turning to the downside. But there are stocks that are getting very oversold in the near term, and a lot of stocks have also been topping out. And so our overbought, extreme overbought and oversold focus, which is the topic of this week, has been showing us a lot of stocks that have essentially lost their upside momentum. Even something like Sprouts Farmers Market, ticker symbol is SFM. You can see it got extremely overbought there a number of days ago, and then basically since then has dropped as much as 8 or 9%. And there's an almost endless amount of stocks. Here's another one, for example, F5 Networks, same exact deal. So a lot of stocks are starting to do this because momentum has shifted to the downside. If you like to find more about how we can find when something is extremely overbought or extremely oversold and how we can potentially take advantage of that, make sure you join us in this week's discussion down below or on the next screen. We'll see you there.